land of maple syrup, hockey sticks, and people who apologize when you bump into them. To most of the world, it's a peaceful country of polite manners, stunning forests, and eternal winters. But what if that image, the friendly neighbor in the north, is only half the truth? What if I told you that this seemingly mild nation once torched the White House, stormed Nazi beaches with more firepower than fanfare, and today runs elite black ops missions so silent, even their allies don't ask questions? That behind every snowplow and national park is a country that's fought empires, defied the odds, and built a military reputation the world quietly relies on and rarely sees coming. This isn't your average history lesson. This is the hidden battlefield behind the politeness. This is Canada, the warrior cloaked in kindness. Canada doesn't advertise its strength. It doesn't broadcast victory parades or posture on the global stage. But its military legacy? It's one of resilience, precision, and quiet dominance. Forged in forests, frozen in trenches, and whispered through satellite feeds and classified briefings. Forget what you learned in school. This isn't just a story of igloos and peacekeepers. This is a nation that has shaped global conflict from the shadows and center stage alike. It has gone from fur trading frontier to cyber warfare vanguard, from indigenous tacticians and colonial guerrilla fighters to Arctic patrols, digital surveillance, and black ops ghost warriors. Canada's military history is a masterclass in power with restraint. In this documentary, we'll walk through 9 pivotal chapters, each one revealing how Canada, time and again, punches far above its weight. You'll see how battlefields built a nation, how wars abroad shaped peace at home, and how a reputation for kindness masks an unshakable core of steel. This is the untold military legacy of one of the world's most underrated powers. This is Canada's secret weapon. Part 1. Before Canada, Indigenous War Tactics. Before Europeans arrived, the land that would become Canada was home to sophisticated warrior societies. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy built a military alliance that lasted centuries, blending diplomacy, discipline, and devastating guerrilla warfare. The Mi'kmaq struck fear through lightning-fast raids across the Atlantic coast. Masters of mobility, they used the land and sea as shields and weapons. The Cree dominated trade routes through strategy and stamina, holding massive territory with seasonal warfare that worked like clockwork. Warfare here wasn't chaos. It was generational intelligence, measured, deliberate, and incredibly effective. Part 2. The Colonial Clash. France versus Britain versus everyone. In the 1600s and 1700s, Canada became a chessboard for European empires. France relied on indigenous alliances and guerrilla militias. Then came 1759, the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. Both generals died. The British took Quebec. France's dreams in North America evaporated. Canada tilted toward Britain, but it would never be the same. Indigenous nations were betrayed. Francophone identity remained defiant. A nation's complex roots were buried beneath empire. Part 3. The War of 1812. Canada strikes back. The United States thought invading Upper Canada would be a cakewalk, but they met fierce resistance from British troops, Indigenous warriors, and Canadian militias who refused to fold. And then came the retaliation. In 1814, British and Canadian-supported forces marched into Washington, D.C. They burned the U.S. Capitol, and yes, they set the White House on fire. They came north to conquer. Canada sent them home, smoking. Part 4. Internal battles. Building a nation through conflict. Peace didn't follow independence. In the late 1800s, the Fenian raids brought Irish-American fighters across the border. Louis Riel led 2 rebellions that would shake the soul of the new Confederation. The Red River Rebellion and the Northwest Rebellion weren't just uprisings. They were battles over indigenous rights, land, and identity. Canada's internal conflicts forged not just borders, but its moral conscience. Part 5. World War I. The nation is forged in fire. 600,000 Canadians served in the Great War. At Ypres, they held the line through the first poison gas attacks in history. Then came Vimy Ridge, 1917. The 4 Canadian divisions fought as one, and they did what France and Britain had failed to do for years. They took the ridge. Vimy was more than a military win. It was a birth. Canada was no longer just a British colony. It was something new, a nation that could lead. Part 6. World War II. Juno Beach and Global Liberation. Canada declared war independently. Over 1 million served. On D-Day, they landed on Juno Beach. They advanced further inland than any other Allied force. Later, they liberated the Netherlands, feeding the hungry, freeing towns, and earning generations of gratitude. Canada didn't just fight, it liberated, and it never forgot the cost. Part 7. Cold War and Peacekeeping. Power without ego. After World War II, Canada helped build NATO, not to dominate but to defend. Lester B. Pearson helped end the Suez Crisis, inventing the modern peacekeeping mission and winning a Nobel Peace Prize. From Cyprus to Rwanda to Bosnia, Canadian troops wore blue helmets and stepped between warring sides. Part 8. Afghanistan and Modern Warfare. After 9/11, Canada joined NATO in Afghanistan. In Kandahar, its troops faced the most dangerous combat zone in the country. 158 Canadians died. Today, Canada leads in Arctic operations, cyber defense, and intelligence. The war has changed, and Canada's already there. Part 9. Quiet Power. Canada today. 68,000 active service members. Over 20,000 reserves. Next-gen fighter jets. Arctic drone fleets. AI-enhanced surveillance. Canada is still training peacekeepers, but also drone pilots and cyber operatives. From NORAD to NATO, it's not just present, it's indispensable. Canada's military isn't loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't raise its voice, but it raises the bar. It burned the White House when provoked. It stormed Juno Beach when the world needed courage. It stood shoulder to shoulder with allies, even when the odds were stacked high. It defied empires, not with noise, but with grit. And still, it'll say sorry if it steps on your foot. And mean it. That's not weakness. That's strength with a spine of humility. That's courage without ego. That's power with restraint. The kind of strength that doesn't seek the spotlight, but changes the course of history in the shadows. The kind that doesn't roar to be feared, but stands tall to be respected. If you've just rethought Canada, you're not alone. There's more where that came from. Subscribe to History Tales, where legends live quietly and history is anything but boring. Because here, we don't take our history for granted. We carve it, we carry it, and we pass it on. One quiet legend at a time.